Hello everyone and welcome to our show. Today we discuss about Google search. Especially we are going to touch the topic about image and unite with local search. I'm excited to discuss this topic with Mike Blumenthal. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's a big pleasure to get you on my show, to learn from you, because I check out your profile. You have extended experience. Before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you decided to pay more attention with image search, with local search, and to help customers with that.
Sure. So I came out of the local world. My family had a retail business that I grew up in. We got our asses kicked, and I had to close it after 60 years in 2000. When I did that, I got into search because I was building websites, and it became obvious to me that the intersection between search and local was very tight, even as far back as 2000. 2005, 2006, I started when Google brought out local listings. I started investigating them to understand the algorithm, started writing about them, and I've been exploring local search and how they can help businesses since 2006. As a result of that, I founded LocalU. I co-founded LocalU, co-founded GatherUp, which was a review product. I've consulted in the local SEO space for a number of clients. I still do to some extent. Sold both of those companies, but still, and started a new company called Near Media, where David Mim, Greg Sterling, and I explore the intersections of local with all aspects of the internet. And right now, I'm just particularly fascinated with Google's ever increasing use of images in the search results, their ability to understand both the context and the content of an image, and to use it to improve searcher experience. And that's been a focus of mine for the last
Uh, yeah, love
year or
it.
so.
Can you tell Google understands the picture? I mean, like without alt text, just the image or not today?
Yes, absolutely. They have just in Google Photos, which everybody
Mhm.
agrees to let Google look at when you upload them. They have 4 trillion images, and they get 28 billion images a week uploaded. So that's just Google Photos. If you add up all the other sources for photos, businesses and users on Google Maps, and all the scraping they do on the web, et cetera, they have multi-trillion photos that they use to train their AI. And you can see this at their Cloud Vision AI online. You can drop an image there and see what they understand about an image. They understand the entities in an image. They can label the context of the objects in the image. They understand the text in the image. They understand the logos in the image. They understand whether the image is good or bad. They understand if the image is sexual. And they even understand not just the color relationships in the image, but they've claimed to be able to understand clothing styles in the images. So their ability to understand an image without an image, alt tag or without a file name is phenomenal. And they're using that knowledge every day in search.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think technologies are coming fast, and yeah, and today it's important to consider image search, if you wanna get more traffic, because most competitors still ignore it. I don't know why, because you can get good
Right.
traffic with
So
that.
this goes beyond image search. This goes into almost every search result. If you look at the local search results and you type in a query for engagement rings, Williamsville, New York, you'll see a list of jewelers at the top, and Google will grab the engagement ring photos from their Google business profile and show those in the pack. And then down in the organic, they'll do the same thing. They'll show the engagement ring photos for those businesses in the local organic results. If you change that query slightly and you type in earrings, Williamsville, New York, Google will switch out the local pack images to earrings and will switch out the organic images to earrings, showing earrings in the results. So they're using images to answer user queries directly. I mean, they understand the content of an image enough that they can respond to to user queries with the image that matches the query, which is in the organic search results, in the local search results.
Yeah, interesting. Can you tell, for example, when I check out content strategy, webmasters usually check out metrics like the potential traffic they can get in the future, but they don't cover about image search. In most cases, about web page searches, high volume, any keywords. Can you tell how to create content strategy that will consider image search as well?
Well, images in that context are largely conversion factors more than they are. So if you have, Google will grab, and in the organic results, particularly, I focus on local organic results, but in the organic results, Google will show up to 4 or 5 images on mobile with your Google results, right? So in that context, those images become really attractive over just the 10 blue links and convert much better. So the issue with images is really around having them relevant to the content of the page and of a size and aspect ratio that they end up looking good in the search results so that you have that advantage. It's like having a good title tag. I mean, it's going to get users to click significantly more. In local, Google research indicates that 90% of all consumers trust businesses with images more, and 76% are more likely to do business if a business has images in local. So images are a huge conversion factor, and a huge trust factor. I've seen research that indicated that in marketplaces, high quality images are trusted significantly more than, say, stock images by users, and certainly more than low quality images. Airbnb did a study where just by switching out the images on their listings to using their professional photographers, they were able to see a 15% lift in income for the properties that had those better images. So images play a very subtle role in the psychology of humans, where people are more likely to respond to an image emotionally. And that response can be triggered all the way from the search results out to your pages. So the impact of images in organic is more psychological. In the local pack, however, what we're seeing when we drop images in that are well done and local, and we drop them in over time, we're seeing anywhere between a 10, 15 to even a 90% increase in conversions over the prior year when we drop images into the local pack. So we're seeing huge changes in conversions, both organically and locally.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I think it's interesting idea. I know about that. Okay, can you tell about how to find the balance between quality and site speed? For example, if I wanna submit a high quality picture, my website can load, a lot of time. Like 5-10 seconds. But if I decrease quality, it hurts user experience. From your experience, how to find this balance between them?
Right. So firstly, lazy loading is really important so that you get fast paint times, but you don't need huge images. You can have high quality, smaller images. On mobile, the screen width is fairly small, and so you don't need thousands of pixels in an image. So it's mostly about scaling your images, not reducing the quality of them. So, a 400 or a 600 pixel wide image will look great on the web. Mostly on the desktop, it looks fine, but on mobile, it looks great. And really these days, with 70% of your traffic being in mobile, that's what you need to worry about. So you want to scale your images down. You don't need multi in most situations. There are times when you do, but in most situations, to communicate the emotive value of an image, you only need 400 or 600 or maybe 800 pixels wide. So you don't need a very big image, and you can do that with good quality pings that are look good but are quite small and fast.
Yeah, interesting about that. Okay, let's talk about creating content strategy for local SEO. Can you tell what is the main difference between local SEO and just generic SEO, international SEO, or national? How to create the right strategy for local websites? Let's imagine plumber in I don't know, Miami.
I'm sorry, who in Miami?
Plumber.
Plumber. Okay.
Yeah, plumber.
So the Google, I think starting with the Venice update in 2012, started localizing both local and organic results. So local being the pack at the top. Sometimes there's ads above them, sometimes there's ads in them, but it's the map plus 3 listings. In that context of that, which is right at the top above the organic listings, local is different from an SEO point of view because Google looks at, in addition to all the traditional things they look at with links, etc., they're also looking at brand mentions, they're looking at reviews, they're looking at photos, they're looking at semantic strength. So the knowledge graph and optimizing for the knowledge graph is very important in that context, more so than in, say, in organic search results. So typically the strategy needs to start with the understanding that your business is an entity in the knowledge graph. All the products they carry are entities in the knowledge graph. And you need the business to both reflect that structurally with schema. And you also, though, need mentions of those things broadly so that Google can find them around the web. You need reviews, and you need reviews not just at Google, but you need reviews across the whole ecosystem that Google looks at. And then, of course, you certainly need links. The links optimally are local links from high quality local sites or sites that are locally focused. And so in that sense, that's what makes local different, is the reliance on the knowledge graph and all those other factors beyond just good quality content and links and technical website stuff.
Oh, let's talk more about links, backlinks. Can you tell which link is better from relevant website, but outside the area, like from other regions?
Yeah, it doesn't
Or
really matter as long as it's focused. It's related to local, either through content or through focus. Doesn't much matter. And from my point of view, it's like asking me if I prefer yellow mustard or Dijon mustard. I prefer both. It's like, I don't care whether I get linked. I just want the link. If I can't get a link, I want the mention in the newspaper. If I can't get the mention in the newspaper, it's like, I want whatever I can get. I want everything I can get. I don't see any reason to choose between French's yellow and Dijon mustard. They're both good. They just do different things. One's good for hot dog and one's good for other stuff, right? And it's the same is true here. You really don't, it's not a choice. Take what you can get as long as it's not from a terrible site, right?
I agree with you 100%. But for example, if I have 2 hands, limited resources, I can't create 2 backlinks. And if I need to choose just one, for example, if I need to pay attention to one,
well, I would back that up. This goes back to the content conversation. I'd say earn the links by creating such great content and communicating and the relationships you build that you get links, right? The idea of putting link building as the primary activity is sort of, to me, putting the cart before the horse. The cart is important, but you need the content to get the links, and you need relationships to get links. I mean, the reality of the local search algorithm, and largely it reflects the reality of how business does well in a local environment. Reputation transitions from word of mouth to reviews. A reputation in the community transitions from you supporting the Little League team and getting an ad on their fence to being mentioned on their website, right? Reputation or quality of service transitions from you being a member of the local chamber to Google being able to see and consumers being able to see that you're a member of the Better Business Bureau as well as the local chamber, et cetera. So the issue is largely around replicating all of the things that in local to be important: reputation, involvement in the community, word of mouth, and transitioning those to digital in an organic way. In other words, you want to earn your reviews. When you ask for them, you want to do a good job. You want to not suck so people want to give you a review. Same thing with links. You want relationships with all the not-for-profits in the area. You want to donate money so they give you You don't care if they give you a plaque on the wall. Who gives a shit about a plaque on the wall, right? It's just going to gather dust. One more thing to maintain. What you care about is getting mentioned on their website, right? So what most businesses need to do is integrate this digital thinking into their daily business, because that's the only way they can maintain it over time. A local business can't spend time looking for links. What they can do, though, is build out local relationships through what they're already doing and leverage those to get links, because they have a relationship with that not-for-profit. They're helping that not-for-profit. The Little League team is doing well. They get mentioned in the newspaper as a sponsor of that. And so it amplifies in the local market tremendously. We're not worried so much about getting a great backlink from Microsoft or whoever. We're worried about communicating to our neighbors the need to recognize our business digitally. So in local, I just see it as more important that you take an organic approach to the whole thing.
Yeah, love it. Okay, let's talk more about
But if you
reviews.
want, I have a couple extra plaques laying around here. I'd be glad to send them to you. They're just gathering dust.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned a few times about reviews. Can you tell how it's important to get reviews for getting high ranked positions in Google for local SEO?
So reviews play multiple roles, like photos play multiple roles. Google encourages businesses to actively solicit reviews, unlike Yelp or some of the other companies. Yelp discourages reviews, but Google really encourages it. But it's not just reviews at Google. If you go and you do a brand search for a local company, you will see that Google brings the review content and ranks it more highly than almost any other content on the web, and shows that both in their knowledge graph as well as in the organic results. Google uses reviews and those review pages about you as ranking factors because they link back to you. So there's link value, but there's also reputation value. There's also, and Google assesses that. I did an experiment once with a local, terrible little bar, not terrible bar, a small sort of dark dive bar down the street. They had a PDF for a website. That's all they had. It's a PDF for a website. So I went and I asked 6 friends. They didn't have any reviews at Google. Google thought they were a restaurant, not a bar. And Google wasn't showing any dive bar in the local results. So I said to 6 friends, give them a review at Yelp about the fact that they are a great dive bar, that they're a great, terrible bar, that they're a dark, dingy place, but they have, good music, good pool tables, whatever. 6 friends did that, left a review at Google or at Yelp. And within 2 weeks, they were ranking number 1 for dive bars in Olean because of that. Now, Yelp is a little different than some sites. They tend to, when they see a lot of reviews accumulating to a place, they tend to also throw links to that page. But the fact that their landing page at Yelp had links thrown to it was doing better, plus the reviews, elevated their listing at Google, even though Google didn't know that they were a bar, on the phrase dive bar. Subsequent to that, I did it on the same thing with sports bar for the same bar. They ranked on that. And once they got a few reviews at Google and Yelp, they had 0 when I started. People started leaving reviews. Now, if you go to Olean, New York, where I live, and you type a query for the best bar in Olean, who shows up? My dive bar.
Yeah,
and nice. They do have great chicken wings, by the way. I mean, it's not just a total dive bar. They have very good chicken wings, I have to say. They still don't have a PDF for a website. They've never done anything about backlinks, never done anything about anything. So clearly, reviews play a role. Now, once they started getting the reviews and started getting the rank from it, people saw that and were attracted to it and left more reviews and came, because the reviews at Yelp and Google converted users, convinced them ahead of time that this was a good place to go. So reviews play multiple roles. One is establishing the credibility of the business in Google's eyes, help with rank by having them at both third parties and at Google. But ultimately, once everybody has a couple hundred reviews in a given market, then it's about converting customers and having them click on your listing, which probably also sends signals to Google that you're a better listing.
Yeah, interesting. What about negative reviews? If business get negative reviews, what to do? Does it impact ranking, and how to handle them?
So the way the Google patent is written around negative reviews, it typically would reduce the positive benefit of reviews in the area that the review is about. So if it's a negative review about your chicken wings, you might not get as much benefit from the review that you have about chicken wings, right? It won't punish you, but you won't gain the benefit from it. So it does have a minor, it's a very minor effect. I mean, this is a very small effect. I think businesses need to be mature, which is a very difficult thing to ask of most small businesses because they're so wrapped up in their business. As I mentioned, I helped run a business, family business that had been around for 50 years. I ultimately had to close it. It's very difficult to separate your ego from that. But a business ultimately needs to understand that their brand story, as told through reviews, is no longer controllable by them. It's a joint project between them and the customer. And the only way to have a good outcome of that story being told about your business is to suck less and to do better, right? Run a really good business. So a negative review isn't a bad thing. In fact, research shows that consumers see 5 stars and are immediately suspicious. Typically, the sweet spot for a review rating is between 4.2 and 4.7. But the
Yeah.
real secret to reviews isn't just manipulating your average to be between 4.2 and 4.7. The real secret is to dig out the value of the negative review. Firstly, take care of that customer. Many times, about 30% of the time, they will actually change it. No reason you can't go back and ask them to change it. But if there is a systemic problem that review reflects, fix it. I mean, fix your business. Complaints are the building blocks of a better business. And having a better business is how you achieve a great brand story when the story is told between you and the customer, not just you anymore. 30, 40, 50 years ago, you could tell people what to think about your business. That's not true anymore. And you have to recognize that reality. So no more than I think you should manipulate links. You shouldn't probably manipulate reviews. I don't think absolutely shouldn't. And the main reason is it violates your trust with your customers. And if they figure out you're manipulating reviews, they're going to do this to you. I won't say that out loud because I assume somebody's listening, but if they're watching, they'll know what I meant.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, guys who are listening on audio podcast, you don't know what was that, but I hope you
It was
understand.
the finger between my index finger and my ring finger. That's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell how to find the right strategy for companies, local businesses that have no organic traffic? For example, if I check out on SEMrush, Ahrefs, or any other tools, some local keywords, I can see like small traffic, not big traffic. Like I don't know, 100 volume and something like this. Is it good idea to create content plan with local content but irrelevant to the business or not?
It does no value. It provides no significant value. The content needs to be around the products and services you offer, and it needs to be good enough that consumers come to it and stay on the page to read it, and hopefully good enough that they can convert. Irrelevant content is irrelevant content. It doesn't do any better here. I mean,
Uh,
there may be some limited situations where you might do, a subdomain with related content or slightly related content, but for the most part, it should be related content on your site about you. The reality is that the keyword tools don't do a good job in local and local keyword volume. And the best test is measuring the actual conversions that are happening in this store and the value of those conversions, right? So what you're worried about, if you're selling engagement rings, for example, as this one client, Barbara Oliver in Williamsville, does, we literally built her whole business around engagement rings online because she wanted to switch her demographic from an aging demographic to a younger demographic. And engagement rings was the way in that door. Even though it was a small volume, it ended up of searches, it ended up being a very high dollar volume item. And once she started getting reviews about engagement rings, she started selling more of them. It became a very positive feedback loop. And again, if you look where she is, Williamsville, New York, and you look on the volume for engagement ring searches, it's very small. She tripled her business 3 times in 6 years around engagement rings. So to a large extent, it's around the value of the product more than it is the quantity of searches in that market.
Yeah, I agree with that. But for example, Brandin,
I'm sorry.
in the Brandin on Backlinko, he shares a new study. When he got like 5,000 links with irrelevant content, he created pages about Tesla, many other companies, just for the sake of getting backlinks. You know, like many big publications link to this content when they write their publications, and he gets this backlinks. What do you think? Is it a good idea to create like linkable content for local SEO for the sake of getting backlinks if it's hard to find another way?
Marketers do a lot of crazy shit, and this is one of them from my point of view. I mean, it's a strategy. It probably works, but it's like most of these businesses don't have the budget to do that. And there's so many other things that are important that I have a little trouble with it, because it again puts the cart before the horse. I mean, to me, in local, given that you're dealing with real people who ultimately should become your friends and your promoters, these are people that should be telling their neighbors about you, either through reviews or through word of mouth. The total focus in local has to be on making sure the experience for them is optimal. The rest of it, I mean, I get, it's 6 of one, a half dozen of the other. I suppose you can come up with these strategies. I just don't, for most of these businesses in local, doesn't make sense, right? They're not doing, now again, if it's this 200 location national business, let's say it's in the storage industry, and you could write articles about moving statistics and various other urban related things there, at least then the content relates to the idea of storage. And I think there's enough resources at the national level to warrant that kind of investment in research and solid data. But I don't believe it should be unoriginal. It should be original data. I mean, original content at Google sends real leads, right? We built GatherUp, a review company in the local space, without one penny being spent on AdWords, without one penny being spent on Facebook ads. We did three things. We wrote great content, and we got tons of links and started generating great organic traffic. We had really happy customers who left us great reviews. And we spoke at a number of conferences, and we often seeded our product with high profile speakers at conferences so they could speak about our product. With that marketing strategy, we built every link we needed without ever asking for a link. And we ultimately sold the company with a very good valuation. And it was all done through original content and relationship building with customer and with other agencies. And I believe that model works really well in local, because local is, if anything, ultimately about the relationship. Every link is about a relationship. Every review is about a relationship. And so you have to ultimately respect that relationship to do well in local. Long haul. I mean, it's one thing to grease the skids temporarily, but you got to understand it's a temporary thing. Reviews are a 5-year game. They're not a 3-month game. You don't have to shoot to the top. You have to get a few reviews every month with a slow, steady pace. And you need a process in place where that happens as part of your business over time, so that 4 or 5 years in, you are the leader in the space. You may not be the leader in engagement rings when you start, but if you do a slow, steady, this is where the tortoise really wins over the hare. A slow, steady process that you can build into the business and do every time. Now, this is true not just for reviews, it's also true for images. We see that businesses that have super high quality images and drop them in regularly into the Google business profile see consistent ranking gains because of dropping, not ranking gains. What we see is conversion gains, which is even more important. By dropping images in regularly into their Google My Business profile, they are seeing significant conversion gains over time. So it's the same deal. It's a slow, steady thing. You start with you bring in a professional photographer, you get 50 or 60 great images, and you drop them in your Google Business profile regularly, a couple a month. And then you also use them for everything else, your website, Facebook, your ads, all of that. And that slow, steady process, which again is a business can digest because it's 2 a month. It's not 200 a month, along with reviews. And then if you can get good content that's original, links will come. But even if they don't, you can largely see success in local with just photos and reviews. So it becomes an ROI issue. I mean, you can get a great review program for $50 a month, whatever, just automatically feed, feed your email addresses into it. And it just always sends the ask out and it gets reviews. It doesn't get a ton, it gets regular amounts, first and third party. Now, first party reviews are incredibly valuable because then you've got social proof for your website. You can spread them around your website. You can have reviews about engagement rings on your engagement ring page. You can have reviews about earrings on your earrings page. So you have original content on this page. You didn't write any of it. It's coming from your customers. So it's both more believable and fresh content. So you don't ever need to have a great content strategy in local other than reviews, first party reviews in that case.
I love it. Yeah, nice sharing. Okay, let's talk about, you mentioned a few times about pictures, photos. What about stock images? Is it a good idea to use them or it's better to avoid?
So a couple things about stock images. Firstly, in eye tracking studies around stock images, users don't look at them. Right? They'll look at the whole page. They'll look at the real images. They'll look at the text. When they see a stock image in the middle of the page, they'll skip over it. Literally will not stop at it. So they're very low in terms of consumer value. If they have real images, there was an interesting study about real images where they showed the study participants emotive images, happy images, and then they showed happy text to them, and then they showed them neutral or negative images and neutral and negative text. And after the person was shown real happy images, unbeknownst to them, at the end of every test, they would serve lemonade to all the participants. And the people who saw happy images drank more lemonade. The people who read the happy text, no change in behavior. The people who saw unhappy images or unhappy text, no change in behavior. But real positive images, people consumed more lemonade. So the first issue with stock images is people don't look at them, with the exception of product images. But there's another study from Cornell in which product images were stock versus real, and real had about a 10% improvement in trust over stock. So even there, where people expect stock images, real images perform better. And then the third issue with stock images, besides not being compelling to the user, not creating conversions, there's another study done, it's at Whitespark, done by Joel Headley at Patient Pop. They did a case study. Patient Pop manages thousands of doctor and dentist websites. They took a sample of doctors and dentist websites, converted the images to professional local images on both Google Business profiles and the website. And then they had comparable groups with similar traffic, similar growth in conversions, and they compared the two. And by converting the images from stock to good quality, professional local images on both Google Business profiles and the website, they actually tracked the full stack, and they saw appointments go up by about 12%. Now, that's a huge gain for a doctor to get 12% more. And then the final issue about stock is I was doing an experiment the other day. I was looking at this really nice local dentist site search result. I think it was dentist, Santa Monica, California. They were down the page a little bit, but they had the best image display where they had, I think, 4 images and the text associated with the service right on the image in the search result. And I dropped one of those images into reverse image lookup, and it turned out they were sharing that stock image with a porn site. Now, the image itself wasn't porny, and there was no association between the dentist and the porn site, but you run the risk of stock images being used every place else. And it's trivial to get a professional in, and low cost. I mean, this company I'm consulting with, AirCam, which I'm helping them build a local project around images where they can send a photographer any place in the United States. They can build images that when they take the images, they're checked against Google's API to make sure the image, that Google understands the image. It's so easy. They're as low as, like, if you give them 20 locations, they're down in the $125 per location for images. It's cheap. It's the cheapest SEO you can do. That is both increases conversions so well. It's one of the lowest hanging fruits right now in local SEO, both organic and Google My Business Profile.
Yeah. Awesome. Love your sharing. Yeah, well explained. With all details, examples. Yeah, love it. Okay, I have the question for someone who wanna jump on this field and provide services for local businesses, companies, because I have some audience who are students who are looking for ways to learn more about that. Can you tell them, for example, if you start from scratch today without any knowledge, skills, what would you do today?
What I would do is I would go to Moz and read their introduction to local SEO blog posts. They have a training manual. Then I would find a couple of relatives or friends that run businesses and offer to help them. The other thing I would do is I did a very interesting case study. It's on gatherup.com/blog on the Spot to Be restaurant, where I demonstrated how a very small business in a rural area could rank just by using tools that Google provided, no other tools, right? We didn't build a website other than what Google offered. We didn't do anything but get reviews at Google, and they ranked doing that. I would go read that, called Spot to Be case study at GatherUp. So I would go to Moz, read their basic training, go to GatherUp, read that article on Spot to Be, and then I would find 2 or 3 businesses and work for them, explain that you don't know squat, but that you can help them do better, and start experimenting. Experiment with images, track it. Get a review system going for them, track it. Help them improve their website, track it, and build out a way to report the actual increase in business. This is what businesses care about. They don't care about rank. I mean, some do, but in the end, what they really care about is whether their business is increasing. And so figure out a way to do that. Once you've done 2 or 3, you know enough to help 2 or 3 more and charge them. So I don't think it's rocket science. A lot is written. I would also go attend a local U webinar or in person. I think they're doing really good work around local. I founded them. I sold them. I do a little work for them still, but so I do that. And I think within a short period of time, you can have a new career.
Yeah, totally. Why not? Just to be patient and go ahead step by step.
And, the way that I've always built my careers is I've always done these interests as side gigs, right? I always spent some of my time making enough money that I could put food on my table for my family, fulfill my obligations that way. But then I would spend my spare time developing this new skill. I did that with local. I was building websites. I started exploring local. And then all of a sudden my local business, it took 3 or 4 years, but became more important than my web business. While I was doing local, I started exploring reviews. And then I built a review company. And the review company became more important than my local business over time, even though it was a side gig. And the same thing happened with my digital training company. I was doing local SEO, started doing this digital training company. It became more important over time. And in the end, the side gigs became the main gigs. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to jump in with both feet. You can start in a new business gradually. Everybody's got an extra day a week they can spend on this. And I think that's a way, if you don't want to risk the farm, you can get going, have more fun. It adds spice to your week because you're learning new stuff, and you can slowly build up. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, love it. Okay, can you tell how to compete with big websites? For example, if I search, I don't know, like buy apartment in Miami, I can see Zillow, many other authoritative websites. Is it good idea to compete with them, or it's better to find another way to get SEO traffic from local
Well,
search?
the beauty of local is the local pack at the top of
Mhm.
the search results. And so you may not be able to control the organic results. You may not be able to compete in the organic results, but you can compete in the local pack. And then what I would do, so I would do all the things I talked about: photos, reviews, a good website with good structure, get some links. You then will succeed in the local pack. And then as far as those others, I would do what was referred to in the local industry as barnacle SEO, where you attach yourself to those sites for at least as much effort as produces value. So that if somebody does scroll down and goes to Yelp or Zillow or whatever, you're there to be found, and they can see that you have a good reputation there, and that can then support your local pack efforts. So I wouldn't try to compete directly. I would compete orthogonally. I would compete from a different direction. And in that case, in local, it would be all around the pack, building out a good presence in the local space.
Yeah, yeah. It's better to outsmart them, outweight many competitors in the top 10 results. Okay, I have the last question about the future of local SEO. What kind of future can you predict today about local SEO? Yeah.
So, predicting the future is kind of like predicting the weather. Only fools do it. But you've asked, and I'm a fool, so I guess I better answer. How far out are we talking? We're talking 6 months out, or are we talking 6 years out?
I don't know. Like, let's take like 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, 5 years.
For
Well, yeah, 5 years is way beyond my time horizon. Let's take a year.
okay, year.
Okay,
Okay.
a year. Okay, so Google currently has 95, 96% of local search.
Mhm.
Local search results, local search conversions, local search everything. They are sending probably more traffic to you without sending it to your website than anybody. Probably 70% of the traffic coming from Google doesn't come to your website. They stop at Google, they see that you look good, your pictures look good, your reviews look good, they pick up the phone, they make a call, right? So you have to start thinking, if you haven't already, as Google as one of the most important pages for you on the internet. So a year from now, I think Google's current trends are pretty obvious. It's more transactional. They want to be able to deliver local results with the ability to convert those results right then and there. That means different things in different businesses. That transactional trend, like in hotels, they want a booking. In restaurants, they want an order or reservation. In retail, they want a product purchase. It's in service, they want a quote. So you need to understand that Google's going to double down on transactions, and you need to be there. So for example, if you're a retailer and you only have 10 or 20 products, you should get WooCommerce, push those products into WooCommerce on your WordPress site, and then push them into Google Merchant Center so they show up in local for free. Just as an example of a way to deal with that transactional trend. So transactions is one big trend. Obviously, mobile, it's a trend that's already happened. 70% of search results now. It's likely to be 80 or 90% in a year. That has implications, I think, beyond just Google. I'll talk about those in a minute. And then one of the other things you see with Google is this increasing emphasis on images in the results. And they're experimenting with a number of new search units in the results that are both product image based and non-product image based. And you'll see increasing reliance on images. I did a whole booklet on this. If you go to nearmedia.co/subscribe, you subscribe to our 3-time-a-week newsletter, we will send you a book on image, just on the topic of images in local search. So images is another big trend at Google. And I think in a year, you'll see currently about 35% of a local search result is image based. This is up from 0% 4 years ago. I think you're going to see that trend increase because in some of these units that they're using, literally 90% of the surface area is images. So mobile, transactions, images, those are all going to be doubled down by Google. In the mobile space, I think what you're going to see, and what I've been seeing a little bit, is Apple slowly bringing back search to the iPhone. Now, in the United States, more so than in other countries, the iPhone is more than half of the user base. And people tend to use whatever the default is. Apple's Maps has gotten significantly better. And we're seeing a lot of dark traffic in analytics that seems to be coming from Maps. But also, Apple has just announced iOS 16. In the context of that, they announced the upgrade of Spotlight, which is their device level search. Apple's goal is to integrate, not to build a search engine out on the web, but to integrate search directly into the device, wherever you're at, whatever program you're in, whatever you're looking for, it strives to find it. And that includes local businesses. So I think you need to be a year from now, maybe 2 years, you need to be paying attention to Apple, not so much because you can manipulate it, but because you need to be sure that you look good there. That means reviews at Yelp, good images, that Google understands what you are, where you are, who you are, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's a growing trend, is the shift, because who knows what antitrust is going to do with Google and Apple's relationship. But Apple, if Google were gone tomorrow, Apple would deliver a solution that would be phone-based to replace Google. So you need to be ready for that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, right. This is the future. Anybody can predict the future. I can't be wrong, at least not till the future comes. Look, call me back in a year. We'll see how I did.
Totally. I'm not good with that, because when I'm trading, or investing, I often fail. So I can predict the future as well,
Right. Well, I mean, you can't go wrong in local by a slow, steady process around reviews, a slow, steady process around images, a slow, steady process around a website that attracts links. That we know has worked, and it will continue to work, regardless. But you need to look at the world beyond just Google, because Google looks at the world beyond just Google. So, doing well at the other review sites that are important in your industry, doing well on Apple so that you're there if they do make this transition. And this is all around entity search. So making sure that your entity is well-defined, who you are, where you are, what you do is well-defined across the whole entity ecosystem. Because ultimately, local search is entity search, whether it's Apple or Google or Bing or anybody else.
Yeah, love it. Thanks, Mike, for all your insights. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
Sure. So M. Blumenthal on Twitter, mblumenthal@nearmedia.co if you want to email me directly. Or if you want to text me, come to blumenthals.com. You'll find a text interface right there. Like I said, if you want to subscribe to our 3 times a week newsletter around search, social, and commerce in local, it's nearmedia.co/subscribe. And if you do, we'll give you a booklet on images in the visual SERPs and the future of them that you can have for your reference. And I'd love it if you did.
Okay, guys, you need
so
to
this
do
is
it.
This is actually my coupon. So this lets me know how many people are watching the show. So if I get a couple subscribers, I'll know that a few are watching.
Okay, you can type the links on the private chat. I'll share with my audience.
On the private chat, sure.
Yeah, just type there. I'll submit to audio podcast, to the description, all these links. So, guys, it's better to follow Mike to get this gift. Why not? So to learn more, by reading these books, to get more value, because you can see that I personally learned a lot today. All of that. Let me share all this information in the comments. Yeah. Okay, we have website, email, and Twitter. Yeah.
And I just added a text interface from my blog.
Okay.
If you prefer texting, I don't care.
Okay.
I will talk to you however you want to talk to me. I have an open door policy. Feel free to email me. I love meeting new people. I love chatting with new people. And I love sharing. So feel free.
Okay, guys, if you listen on Apple, Google, Spotify, you can find all these links in the description below. And thanks again for your time. It's a big pleasure to learn from you. And guys, see you next time.